Hey guys, and welcome back. In the last video we put up all the bows and the knee walls and assembled them all in place and plumbed them up. In this video I'm putting the ridge pole all the way down the length of the greenhouse in between all of these trusses. Short sections roughly around 4 feet. We're going to get those put in and get the end walls all framed out for a door and a vent in this end. Door will be on the far end. I'm going to do like a board and batten on the ends. And after that we'll be ready for plastic. I'm hoping I can get these installed by myself. I have to rig up something just to hold the ends. Like this piece I've cut to fit. We'll go right down the ridge. If I take a screw I can set the end of it on the screw. So I'll just start a screw in here. Give it something to sit on, and I can set that there and then go around the other side and send screws through to hold it. Be slow going by myself, but I can make it work like I usually do. This is going to add a lot of strength to the ridge of this, which I'm hoping for snow load really helps. Pretty excited to be able to leave the plastic on this year round. PVC greenhouse, we took the plastic off every fall. I rebuilt that one numerous times because it got crushed. But here, wind has been the biggest issue, so we're trying to build this one sturdy enough that the wind won't bother it. I may add some more diagonal bracing from the end walls down from the top just to give it a little extra stiffness. You want to bring these up so that they're not sticking up above the peak. It'll be down just a little bit from the peak. I mean, it feels pretty strong. Now, one thing I want to note, once your end panel, your far end is plumb, and you keep pulling those measurements from down below and transferring them to the top, this thing is running nice and plumb as I go. That's why I just had to push this one over, because it was leaning in a little bit. But it is running nice and true. I just checked one and they're running nice and plumb. This one here probably is not. It's probably leaning towards me a little bit, which is what they have been doing. And it's working really nice to put a screw down to hold it a little bit lower than it needs to be. And then go ahead and screw them in. Then I can take this screw out. Of course, I'm reusing them. Last one going in right now as far as the ridge braces go. This went really quickly. Worked really good. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself, but it worked fine. There, beautiful. Nice and rugged. Now we'll get the end walls framed up, starting with the panel that the vent is going to go in on the other end. All right, I'm starting with this end wall where the vent will go, and I actually just happen to have left over from our main big greenhouse build an automatic shutter. I don't know if I'll use it as an automatic shutter. It's a little bit bent, which is why I have an extra one. So I'll have to straighten that out, but I think I can use this. It's fits in a 24-inch opening, and I have 24-inch on center framing here, which I'm going to run the flat way, so I'll just have to adjust the two middle ones in a little bit to accept this. But all in all, this is going to be pretty simple framing. I'll show you guys how I do it. I'm actually literally going to scribe cut the top so I can screw it directly into the framing. The bottom will just go to the bottom of the 2x6 square. So let's get right to it. Really all I need for this is a level. These are 8-foot 2x4s, of course. I am actually just going to put it on my line, which I have down on the bottom. Plumb it up. And then I'm simply going to scribe the top line. And then I'll cut that and screw it in. There, that'll work a little better. Like that. So I'm just gonna tack the bottom and then I'll screw the top in. Just make sure it's plumb still. And it's perfect, just like that. So this 2x4 has got a little bit of a twist to it, but the screw should take care of most of it. Perfect. Go ahead and do that with all the rest of them. Get them all fastened in the same way. Now I'm going to frame this end virtually the same as the other end with the exception of a door that's going in, so I got to have a slightly wider opening than I did for the vent. But I've spaced everything out. Again, 2 foot on center with the exception of my door opening. And now I'm going to get framing. So I've got them cut about 1 inch off the ground. Had a couple that I had to retrim just because I didn't want them contacting the ground. So double check again my door opening. It's gonna be a 30-inch wide by 6 foot tall door, which I'm actually reusing from our old greenhouse, so I just want to make sure it fits. One more piece of framing for this wall, and I think I'm going to call it. There, I will have to add bits and pieces here and there. I want to put probably a header up here and a few more braces here and there, but all in all, it's pretty good, and we'll pick this up tomorrow when I do the plywood. All right, I'm back at it here today, putting the sheeting on the ends. I'm going to make it look like board and batten. I did have to fur the ends out, the thickness of my gussets, so I've added some furring. In hindsight, if I had to do this again, I would have spun this around so the gussets were on the inside, and then it would have been a nice flat wall and I wouldn't have had to do that. But it wasn't a big deal. I just ripped some pieces that thickness on the table saw and nailed them on. So I'm ready for sheeting now. I also added braces in each corner, so I added 4 of these diagonal braces off camera. Just a really quick, just cut the angles on the top and the bottom. I actually scribed them so they'd fit right in nice and tight. I did that on the back as well. Probably can't see them too good from here. So each corner has one of those, and it really stiffens it up really nicely. So to cut the plywood, I'm just laying it. I know these door openings are plumb, so I'm just going to start it here, flush the sheet up. I'm just going to get it true to the opening. Then I'm simply going to scribe the back side of it. And there will be some trim boards going on as well, just to clean the edges up. And now that I've got it marked, I can just cut my line. Now this is just 5/8 CDX plywood. You could do this with T111 or something like that. That's a little better suited to outdoor use. I've got to paint both sides of this. It got a little wet. It rained yesterday. So I gotta wait for it to dry, but I'm gonna paint both sides. And then put battens on it, make it look like board and batten. Grab my nailer. I'm gonna use the Bostitch 2-inch foil siding nailer again. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then I'll just have a little piece to infill at the top. Now I'm going to add a piece of framing at the top of this door. I've cut the angles on it. Get a piece in here to support the top of the door opening. There, that'll do that. Now we can move on to the other end. I do have the door that's going in here. I salvaged it off the old greenhouse. I'm just going to reuse that same door for at least for now. So this opening will fit that door. It's a 30-inch wide by 6-foot tall door. Should be fine. Saves me building a new one. There, all I've got to do next is cut out the opening for the vent, get some framing in there, and then trim out the ends. I'm going to run some 1x up around the peak to trim that out, and then there's some battens on the side just to dress it up. Now when I figure out the height of this, I want it to be just above the level of where the plants will be, so I'll probably mount it. The benches will come up to about the tops of the knee walls. So I'll mount this somewhere right at this level. And I'll add the framing here before I cut the opening out, just so it's nice and rigid around that opening. Can't wait to get this thing done. We'll wrap it with plastic in the next video. We've got a lot of plants in the greenhouse, the big greenhouse, that need to be transferred over to this one. And I'm making the opening 1/4 inch in each direction bigger than the size of the louver, just so I don't have to fight to get it in there. It's a 24-inch louver, making the opening 24.5, which is how I spaced the 2x4s. There, so now I can cut some framing to put in here. Top and bottom of the window, it should be 24.5, and it is. Screw those in and I'll cut that opening. I'll probably just grab the Sawzall to cut this out. Probably be the quickest way to do it. I'm going to trim it all out with pine on the outside anyway, so it doesn't have to be a super clean cut. And it helps if you're cutting something like this with a Sawzall, you got to put a pretty good angle on it. there it is. Yeah, that goes right in there great. We'll rig it up. I actually do have a automatic motor for it too, if I feel like running power to it, but for right now, we can just block it open. Run a couple screws in just to hold it in there for now. I'm gonna have to pull it back out and straighten it anyway. Just to hold it. And now we can get started on the trim. It's gonna be just 1x pine. I'll probably do like a 1x4, run it all the way around the edges. Pretty much whatever I have kicking around, because this is a budget job and we're just trying to get it done quick and cheap. So now we're on to trim, and the way I'm going to trim this out, it's actually going to be exactly like I did with the rafters when I built the rafters, but it'll just be with 1x4 pine. So the measurements will all be the same. I'll flush them up with the rafters so it looks nice and trim on the front, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And then I'll case the door out the same way. Now when I put these trim boards on, I'm going to line up the ends of the joints. I'm also going to take my speed square and make sure it's flush with the rafter and not sticking up any higher before I fasten it. But it's important that it line up with your angles of your rafter. I'll just tack it for now. And I'm literally just measuring the rafters themselves, get the exact measurement. And if you're curious, the first one was 48 5/8. Second one is 42 1/4, 22.5 degree angles on each end. And then again, flushing that up really nice, top and bottom. This is important that this is flush with the rafter. It's gonna look really nice. Now I'll do the other side and then I'll do the legs. There, it's looking pretty sharp, I think. Now since this is rough cut, there is a little bit of variation in thickness, which is why I just ripped this piece down to match the thickness of the piece that I just put on, which is actually a textured on one side piece. But anyway, I'm just trying to get them closer to the right thickness. It's a little off still, but it doesn't really matter that much. But it was a 1/4 inch off before, which would really stand out. Working with what I have. And now that the gable end trim is done, I'm going to fill in this peak piece with a solid piece and then just do 2 legs down the side to hang the door on. And then a couple of battens and this end will be done. Now a handy tool for getting the angles at the top of the door is a slide bevel or bevel square. Got a little knurled nut on here that you turn, you adjust this to the angle, and then you can lock it down. So I'll do that to get these angles, which works really nicely in this case because I can just slide it in, slide it up to where it's got to be, make sure it's nice and even. And then I always lock it, and then I check again and make sure it didn't move. But that looks good just like that. So that's the angle for the top on both sides. There, all the trim is now done on both ends. I even wrapped the back vent with some 4-inch grace tape just to keep it watertight, and then I installed the vent. Now, the only thing I have left to do before plastic is I'm just going to sand all of the joints and any rough spots just to keep it from snagging on the plastic. Other than that, we're ready for plastic now. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next video.